Now I want to introduce our special guest, somebody that means a lot to me. He and I became friends several years ago. And to lighten the mood just a little bit, when I first met this individual, he came to Illinois to hunt with me on a guided hunt, was doing a TV show, and his shirt that he was wearing said, "Look, Ma, no hands."
I told him now I got one that says, "Don't shoot, I'm unarmed."
I mean, this guy right here has an amazing story to tell, and I thought it'd be worthwhile that you all listen to it. We go through chapters in our personal life every day, trying to overcome obstacles with one or two committee members or thinking it should all be better and we want to quit, we want to give up. Why are we doing that type thing? Well, I guarantee you when Mr. Joson Koger gets through talking, you won't want to quit anymore, because he could have. But Joson Koger from Owensboro, Kentucky.
Well, first I want to thank Tim for having me come up. I don't get to go around and closer. Oh, closer. All right. Most of y'all can probably hear me anyway. I like being around a lot of people that have the same passion I got, which is in the outdoors. I love hunting, fishing. I grew up doing it, and it's something that I've always enjoyed. I got to turn it back up or what?
Turn it up.
All right, so Tim called me a couple weeks ago and asked if I'd come speak, and I said, absolutely, I love speaking, I love telling my story. So I had something written up, and then he told me whenever I got here he wanted me to talk about never giving up, which was totally not what I wrote. So I'm pretty good at just winging it a little bit. And, I told somebody earlier, I went to Murray State University. I got an ag... All right. I got an ag engineering degree, and the only class I failed was public speaking. So, and now I got to get up here and do it all the time. So before I get into my story, what happened, it is really easy to give up. And no matter what you do, you definitely make a difference in whatever it is. I know we were talking earlier, some people got a chapter going and there's only two of them that does all the work and nobody else is there. And they probably sit back and think, why am I doing this? And now I think they said they had several people that were involved. And things happen, you're supposed to almost, something in your heart tells you what to do, and you just do it, no matter if you think somebody's looking or not looking. And everything I've done, I've not done for anybody. And I'll tell you a quick story. My little boy, he is 5 years old. When he was 3, he was riding a bicycle. And he told me, he said, "Dad, I want a motorcycle." I said, "All right, well, you're 3. Man, you can't even ride a bicycle with training wheels." And I told him, I said, "I'm not going to give you a dirt bike until you can ride without a training wheel." And you got to remember, he's 3 years old. So he said, "Take the training wheels off." I said, "All right." So I took them off and he rode. I thought, well, now I got to go buy a dirt bike. So I went and bought him a dirt bike. He's been riding his dirt bike since he was 3. He's 5 now. He's actually racing tonight. He was going to be here with me tonight. And he runs motocross. So a couple weeks ago, we were in Greenville and he was racing. And he was going around the corner and he fell over. And he got back up, which at 5, I can be on the track with him. So I pick him up, I get it started, and he takes back off. And on the way home, he told me, he said, "You know what, Dad?" I said, "What?" He goes, "Well, when I fell over, I got back on that bike." And he said, "I kept on telling myself, Axel, never give up. Axel, never give up." And I thought that was pretty impressive, because I really never sat down with him and told him about my accident. We never really have talked about it. I mean, as far as he knows, I'm just me. I'm just Dad, just like anybody else. And I just thought that was pretty impressive that he has picked up on never giving up. He's obviously seen me do some stuff that, and never heard me complain or cry or whine about anything. So on March 1st of 2008, I was at my house, and I was actually some kids that came over wanting to ride four-wheelers. So I told them I'd go on a little four-wheeler ride. And I was literally only going to be gone for a few minutes. I was going to go around my grandfather's farm, which is a farm I've been around 100,000 times. And I got on the four-wheeler, got 3 kids on there with me, and I went on this quick little ride. And while I was on that ride, I ran into a down power line. And I took 7,200 volts of electricity, rushed through my body, and luckily, the kids didn't get anything off of it at all. But my cousin was behind me, and my heart actually stopped for 30 seconds. And after I got electrocuted, it threw me off the back of the four-wheeler, and I landed on the ground hard enough that it actually started my heart back up. So here I am, I'm awake, I'm burning. When you get electrocuted, it burns you from the inside out. A lot of people think it blew my arms off. It did not blow my arms off. It did blow my left thumb off, so I remember seeing my thumb thinking that was as bad as it was really going to be. So the ambulance came, picked me up, took me to Owensboro Hospital, and immediately Life Flight came in, got on a helicopter. They would not give me pain medicine because when you get electrocuted, like I said, it burns you from the inside out, and it causes poisonous toxins in your body. So the poison has to go somewhere, and it goes through your kidney and out your urine, basically. So I remember getting on the helicopter, not knowing why I was going somewhere besides Owensboro, and they airlifted me to Vanderbilt Hospital. So I get into the burn unit, and the whole time that I'm on this helicopter, I'm asking the nurses that's on there with me, like, why am I going to Nashville? Why? What's going on? And I remember that I had looked down and I seen my urine bag, and it looked like Dr. Pepper, which I didn't know what that was. Well, what that is your kidneys shutting down. Because I had so much blood and poison going through my body trying to be released, that was the focus of what they had to fix. And so I get to Vanderbilt. I remember getting off the helicopter. I remember going down the elevator, and the last thing I remember is going into a room that looked like a morgue. And at that moment, I thought that I was dreaming or I was dying. I didn't know what it was. Well, that room that I was in was called Hydro Room. Hydro is where they actually take a pressure washer and they wash your dead skin off your body. I had to go through that completely sober, and the reason is because I had to wait for my wife to get to Vanderbilt to sign release forms for them to take me to surgery. So she got there, nobody ever explained to me what was going on. I went to surgery, she signed all the release forms she had to sign, and that night immediately they amputated both of my arms, and they amputated them basically to save my kidneys. And they also put me into an induced coma for 3 days. So for 3 days, I had no idea that I had lost my hands. My family was sitting there thinking, how are we going to tell him? How's he going to take it? You know, the doctors were telling them that, you know, I was probably going to go through depression. I was probably going to try or think of things like suicide or whatever, you know. So, you know, my mom and dad and my wife, they were trying to figure out, you know, how I would take it. And when I woke up, I'll never forget my dad walking in the room and him telling me that I lost both my hands. And the first thing that I thought was, I got 2 kids. I had a 3-month-old and a 21-month-old, 2 little girls. I got 3 kids now, I got a little boy. But at the time, I just had the 2 girls. And I remember telling myself that I couldn't give up. I got 2 kids that need their dad. And giving up was not an option for me. I didn't want that. Now, I didn't know where I would be, and I obviously wouldn't think that some of the things that's happened to me would have ever happened to me. I didn't even know if I'd ever be able to feed myself again. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to put my own clothes on. The doctor told me that I'd be in the hospital for at least 2 to 3 months. And I told him that wasn't going to happen either. I said, you got to tell me what I can do to go home. And he told me the things that I had to do to go home. One of the things that I told him that I had to do before I went home, or that I had to do to be okay, was be able to hold my kids again. And about a couple of days after I was awake, he came in my room one day and he said, hey, your girls are out here. I'm going to bring them in your room. I said, no, you're not. I said, man, I got feeding tubes. I got tubes hanging out my arms. I got stuff in my nose. I mean, like, they're not going to see me like this. So I told him, I said, you need to unhook me from all this stuff. And he said, I cannot unhook you from all that, because if you don't start eating, I'm going to have to put this feeding tube back in, and it hurts. I said, that's just a chance I'll take. So he unhooked me from everything, and I'll never forget the feeling of a feeding tube coming out of your stomach and out your nose. And I told him it was never going back in. So I went out to the waiting room, and I held my kids for the first time. 12 days after my accident, I was released from the hospital and went home. And when I went home, the very first thing that I did was I told my mom, I said, where's the keys to my truck? And she gave them to me. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just going to go out and see if I can get it started. And I did. I drove that day. I knew better than drive down Frederick Street, but I did drive around my house. So 12 days after my accident, I drove my truck. And then, you know, it's just from then, I just kept on trying different things. I'll never forget, somebody told me, I've met a couple people in this room before, and they wanted me to tell a couple stories, and this fits in probably right now. First trip I ever went to Owensboro. It was me, my 2 little girls, my wife, and we went to Hobby Lobby. So we're sitting in Hobby Lobby, and I told my wife, I said, well, me and Billy Grace, we're gonna walk around. She's 21 months old. And I had her in my arms, I was carrying her around, and my 3-month-old, my wife, was gonna shop. I hate shopping. So we're walking around, having a good old time, and we were probably 4 or 5 rows over from my wife. And my little girl kept on wiggling her legs, and so anyway, I got tired of holding her, so I set her down, and she went running away from me. And I yelled at her, I said, Billy Grace, get back over here. So she looked at me, she smiled, she come running towards me, and she had her arms wide open, like, you know, just that special moment, you know, something you catch on TV, and I guess it's awesome. I got this little girl running up to me, fixing to jump my arm. Well, she had other plans. She grabbed me by my pants, and she pulled my pants down to my ankles. And I didn't have arms, so I'm begging my 21-month-old, please pull my pants up. And I'm looking around, there's nobody around. So she's not gonna do it though. So you can imagine with your pants around your ankles, trying to find your wife 4 rows over. And I was going as fast as I could, but I was wobbling just like it just took a couple inches. That was all you could do. And I ran into a lot of people going that way. And so I finally found my wife. She got to laughing, and I was laughing, and she said, man, that was embarrassing. I said, yeah, it was embarrassing. I just dropped my pants in front of a ton of people in Owensboro. Everybody knows me. But I told her it could have been worse. I did have underwear on. So again, I got hurt March 1st, 2008. And April of that year was turkey season. Well, my buddy called me and he said, hey, let's go turkey hunting. Man, how am I going to go turkey hunting? But I said, I'll tell you what, I'll go with you. And he's a really close friend of mine. And I told him, but I said, you got to remember, I can't use the bathroom on my own, man. You got to help me. So we go hunting. And right before I went, I called my doctor. Me and my doctor became really, really good friends. And I called him and I said, man, I'm going to go turkey hunting. Is that all right? He said, yeah, I guess. I mean, why are you asking me this? I said, well, I still got stitches. I'm still, you know, cut wide open. And I said, I'm really afraid a tick's going to get in my arm and you're going to have to cut more off. And I don't want that to happen. So he said, I'll just spray down real good. You'll be all right. So I sprayed down. I went hunting with him. And I spent the night with him the night before, actually. And so we're sitting in his room, or in his living room. And he said, hey, I'll be right back. I said, all right. So he goes into his room, comes back out. He has a shotgun. He lays it in my lap. He goes, I hope you know you're hunting tomorrow. I said, man, how am I going to hunt? I ain't got no hands. I mean, what? I don't know what you're thinking. And so he took the 2 screws out of the butt of the shotgun and he put a ratchet strap through it. And he strapped it to my shoulder. And he had a tripod with a radiator hose clamp holding the front up. And he had a string from trigger to my mouth. And the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, man, I'm going to end back up in Vanderbilt tomorrow. So we dry fired that gun that night. And that next morning, we went hunting. And I told him, I said, you know, I've killed longbeards before. But the first bird I seen was a jake. And I told him, I said, I'm killing this thing if I can. And it had to walk right in front of me. I couldn't move. I mean, it had to come in front of me the way I was set up. But it did. And I killed my first bird a month after my accident with no arms. And since then, I've had the opportunity to do a lot more stuff. I've killed deer in Pennsylvania. I killed a good deer this year in Pennsylvania. I live in Kentucky. Obviously, we got really good deer. Probably not a world record, but we do got good deer. I've been to Illinois, been to Kansas. I became the first person in the world for upper amputee to ever kill a bear with a bow, and it's going to be on TV next year. I've had opportunities being on Schoolbound TV. I've been on Addicted to the Outdoors. And then, like, all this little stuff that I was doing, people started noticing it. And I really didn't mean for them to notice it. It happened. I ended up becoming the first person in the world with 2 bionic hands. I got a lot of media stuff, especially in my hometown. I got a lot of media on that. And then I started getting people and other amputees calling me from all over the world. and they was calling me and asking me how I did this. How do you do this? How do you do that? They were single arm amputees or whatever, and it was really cool to get all these calls. And then I get this phone call from Hawaii, and this lady calls me and she asked me if she could talk to me for a minute. And I said, yeah. So I talked to her, and she said, is there a way we can Skype tomorrow? And I'm sitting there thinking, so there's a woman in Hawaii wanting to Skype me tomorrow, and I don't know what it's about. She won't tell me nothing. So I said, sure. So I told my wife, I said, hey, this girl wants to Skype talk to me tomorrow. I don't know what she wants, but you might want to be in there just in case something happens, and because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want you to walk in on something and be like, what are you doing? And so anyway, the next day, this lady talks to me, and she was one of the producers for the TV show Hawaii Five-0. And they were doing a remake of a TV show called The Hookman Episode. And they wanted a guy that had two bionic hands. Well, I'm the only one in the world. So I said, sure, let's do it. And so I went to Hawaii, and I filmed an episode of Hawaii Five-0, Hookman Episode. It was season 3 a couple years ago. I was there for 2.5 weeks, and that episode actually cost $6.5 million, and it was all on my shoulders because the whole episode was about this guy that killed everybody, and he didn't have fingerprints, so they didn't know who it was. They ended up finding me, but and then I had other opportunities. Other things started coming about. I ended up being on CNN, and then I was on Dr. Gupta, and then I was on Al Jazeera American Network, and then I did an Apple commercial for the Super Bowl, and then I did a MetLife commercial that hadn't aired yet. And then I did a movie with Matthew McConaughey called Free State of Jones, and just all this stuff just kept on coming and kept on coming, and then I get to go around and I get to talk to a lot of people now. Last year I had, I think, 60,000 air miles, so I get on a plane quite a bit. But you know, it's been amazing because I never imagined that my life would have turned out the way it has, because it definitely wasn't my plan. And I always think that God has bigger plans than we know, and I know He does things for reasons, and I never second guess that. I just I wanted to be me. I wanted to be the same person I was before I got hurt, and I didn't want to give up. So to conclude, I guess I hope that everybody takes something back with you, because we all go through trials and errors, and things happen to us all the time, and we sit there and we don't understand why this happened to me. And you don't know that if you give up, you'll never know why it happened to you. So thank you for having me. I do have a website. Some people was asking me earlier how they can get a hold of me, and I was going to bring some cards, but I forgot them. It's just JosonKoger.com. I don't know if y'all got a Kroger store, but it's Koger. So if you remember Kroger, just leave the R out. So JosonKoger.com. And if anybody wants to reach me, they can reach me through that. Thank you again for having me come in and talk. And is there anything else you want me to?
That's good.
All right. Thank you all.